Elections to the European Parliament were held in the 27 member states of the European Union between 4 and 7 June 2009. A total of 736 members of the European Parliament were elected to represent some 500 million Europeans, making these the biggest transnational elections in history. An additional 18 observers were pre-elected. Overview. The majority of MEPs were elected on Sunday, 7 June, but because of traditional polling days varying from country to country according to local custom, some countries held their elections in the 3 preceding days: Thursday, 4 June, United Kingdom, Netherlands; Friday, 5 June, Ireland, Czech Republic; Saturday, 6 June, Cyprus, France, Italy, Latvia, Malta, Slovakia, Czech Republic; Sunday, 7 June, Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Germany, Denmark, Spain, Estonia, Finland, France, Greece, Hungary, Italy, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovenia, Sweden. In 7 EU member states, other votes occurred alongside the elections to the European Parliament: a general election in Luxembourg, local government elections in Latvia, part of the United Kingdom, parts of Germany, Italy, Malta, and Ireland, regional elections in Belgium, and a referendum on reforming the monarchical rules of succession in Denmark that would give women the same rights through equal primogeniture. This was the first European Parliament election that Bulgaria and Romania participated in at the same time as the other member states. When they joined the EU in 2007, they held elections for MEPs outside the normal electoral calendar. Polls. A poll sampling 19 national polls predicted the following results: EPP 265 MEPs, PES 195 MEPs, ALDE 95 MEPs, GUE/NGL 40 MEPs, Greens EFA 35 MEPs, UEN 35 MEPs. The remaining 70 MEPs were not predicted, but about 20 were expected to be gained by far-right Libertas candidates. IND-DEM was predicted to fade away due to Liberté's expected success. A prediction by political scientists Simon Hicks, Michael Marsh and Nick Vivian foresaw little change in the distribution of seats, predicting 249 seats for the EPP, 209 for the PES, 87 for ALDE, 58 for UEN of the European Conservatives, 48 for GUE/NGL, 39 for Greens EFA, 17 for IND-DEM and 29 NI. Libertas was not expected to win any seats. A later prediction saw 262 seats for the EPP, 194 for the PES, 85 for ALDE, 53 for UEN of the European Conservatives, 40 for GUE/NGL, 50 for Greens EFA, 23 for IND-DEM and 29 NI. Apportionment of seats. At the previous election, member states were granted a fixed allocation of seats for election as determined under the provisions of the Treaty of Nice. The admission of Bulgaria and Romania midway through the previous parliament's term had increased the overall size of the assembly to 785, and under the terms of the Treaty of Nice it was mandated that the seat allocations be modified for this election, dropping 49 seats to keep the overall size of the parliament down. It had been the stated desire of the member state governments to ratify the Treaty of Lisbon before the election so that its articles governing the European Parliament could enter force as of this election. However, this was blocked by the Irish rejection of the treaty in a referendum. Under Lisbon, there would be a somewhat different allocation of seats, with fewer seats eliminated, leading to a slightly different distribution totaling 751 MEPs. If the Lisbon Treaty is subsequently ratified, it is planned to give the additional seats to the increasing countries already before the next elections, bringing the number of MEPs to 754 for a transitional period until 2014. To have the additional MEPs ready at hand, 18 phantom MEPs were supposed to be elected at the election. These were expected to get observer status in the European Parliament and full payment from the day the Lisbon Treaty enters into force, but only become full members of Parliament after an additional protocol is ratified. The latter will require a decision by the European Council. Includes Gibraltar, but not any of the other overseas territories or crown dependencies. Italicized countries are divided into sub-national constituencies. Sources: institutions, EP, const, changes, Protocol 34, campaign. Many of the national parties running in the election are affiliated to transnational pan-European political parties known as political parties at European level. Those pan-European parties are EPP, PES, ELDR, EFA, European Greens, AN, PEL, EDP and EUD. The question of which was the first to campaign transnationally is the subject of some debate, with the European Greens stating that they were the first in 2004. New parties that aspire to pan-European status during the 2009 elections include New Europeans, Europe United, Europe, Democracy, Esperanto and Libertas Party Limited. The role for pan-European political parties has been expanded by changes enacted by the European Commission in 2007 under the direction of Margot Wallström. 4 incumbent European commissioners will run as candidates in the election: Viviane Reding, Louis Michel, Danuta Hübner, Meglena Kuneva. Jan Figel was tipped but ultimately did not run. He is bound to become the new chairman of his party instead. Kuneva later decided not to take up her seat in the European Parliament. Issue-based campaigns. These divide into EU-wide and nationally based campaigns, often by non-governmental organizations focused on specific policy areas. They are designed to influence MEP candidates, those with a strong interest in the issue, and voters in general. Examples of nationally based campaigns include those of the Royal College of Nursing and British Overseas NGOs for Development. Media coverage. The European Parliament National Broadcasters, the EBU, with the cooperation of the Communication Commissioner, Margot Wallström, are jointly working to make the 2009 election more interesting to the public and increase turnout. Previously, diverse news media in the European Union, and the fact that the election takes place over several days, have made it hard to attract viewers. The media consortium is hoping to focus the 2009 election more towards the EU level and the European Parliament itself, hoping to make the election more interesting and cosmetically appealing for television viewers. Members of the European Parliament also started initiatives in late 2007 to make the election more interesting to voters in a bid to increase turnout. For the 1st of April, Parliament started putting up election posters, internet banners and billboards encouraging people to vote, with messages such as "How much should we tame financial markets?" to demonstrate the role of Parliament. The same 10 posters, designed by Berlin-based advertising company Scholz and Amp Friends Group, were translated into all 23 languages and have been deployed across the whole of the EU. However, some posters are put up more in countries where the issues they present are of more significance, and the most posters will be put up in those countries which had the lowest turnout in 2004. The N slogan is "Use your vote in the European Parliament elections" with the date of the election. In that country, the entire campaign costs €18 million, or €0.05 per eligible voter, with Germany, Spain and Italy donating some advertising space free of charge. Role of the Treaty of Lisbon. It had initially been foreseen that the Treaty of Lisbon would have entered into force by the time of these elections, making them the first to be held under its provisions. However, primarily because of the no vote in the referendum in Ireland, the framework established by the Treaty of Nice will be used again. Amongst other differences, the number of MEPs to be returned depends upon which rules are in effect. While 736 MEPs will be elected under the Nice rules, this number would have increased to 751 if the Lisbon Treaty were in force. A further change that Lisbon would have brought was an increase to the powers of Parliament, including powers over the appointment of the President of the European Commission. It had been suggested by some that political parties could run with candidates for the Commission President, with leaders now linking the post to elections and the convention having been enshrined in the Constitution, further encouraging the possibility. In 2007, it emerged the current Commission President José Manuel Barroso would likely seek a second term, which he confirmed on the 19th of July 2008, and he received the backing of French President Nicolas Sarkozy. In beginning to formalize the emerging party political nature of the office, in early 2009 the centre-right People's Party backed Barroso as the candidate and the centre-left Socialists opposed. However, they did not put forward their own formal candidate. Results. The national results as of the 8th of June 2009 are as follows. Full members 736 members with full voting rights. NB. Adjusted figures restate group numbers to proportionately reflect the reduction of the parliament's size by 49, and to reflect the following political group movements announced prior to the election. DECO from ALDE to other, ODS from EPP to other, FF from UEN to ALDE, and from UEN to EPP, PD from PES and ALDE to other, PES from UEN to other, and Conservatives, UCUNF from EPP to other. Note: postal votes missing from Slovenia. Complete results were supposed to be announced on the 15th of June. Observers. 18 additional seats were designated to be filled by observers when the Lisbon Treaty goes into force, to account for new seat distribution with the Lisbon Treaty. On the 23rd of June, an intergovernmental conference of EU member states amended a protocol attached to the Lisbon Treaty on transitional arrangements. Those transitional arrangements were originally envisaged as taking the total number of MEPs from 785 to 751 for the 2009 elections. The amended text says that the protocol shall enter into force if possible on the 1st of December 2010. Germany is allowed to retain its 3 additional MEPs until the next elections in 2014. The member states entitled to observer seats were supposed to make provisions before the 2009 elections for who would get the additional seats in the European Parliament. However, this was not done by France. This created a limbo for the observers elected from other countries, since all observers are supposed to start the work at the same time. In December 2011, they took their seats. The following is a list of all observer seats. Note that this table already includes the grouping changes announced by the parties and reflected in the section below. Group changes. Traditionally, realignment between the different political groups and European political parties occurs in the run-up to the election and in the time between the election and the first sitting of the European Parliament, when the political groups are constituted. The first sitting of the EP elected in 2009 is set for the 14th of July 2009. New rules regarding the minimum number of members needed for a political group will come into effect following the 2009 election. The present EPP had initially proposed to raise the limit for groups in the EP from 20 MEPs and 1/5 of member states to 30 MEPs and a quarter of member states, which would effectively close down UN and ID. All 5 smaller groups protested against these proposed changes. The proposal was voted down 15 to 14 in committee and in an eventual compromise. New rules were approved in plenary on the 9th of July 2008 which require 25 MEPs from at least a quarter of the member states. Although UN and ID still fail to meet the basic requirements of the new rules, the adopted compromise also included a provision allowing the continued existence of a group which had fallen below the threshold, but only if it still had members from at least a fifth of the member states and only if it had been founded at least a year before dropping below the threshold. If there is sufficient evidence of the abuse of this provision, it need not be applied. Union for Europe of the Nations. The Union for Europe of the Nations was a parliamentary group which traced its ancestry back to its origins as a Gaullist ideological alignment. It was not reconstituted following this election. The Associated Alliance for Europe of the Nations party lost MEPs to other groupings. The largest single contributor of MEPs to the UN group, the Italian National Alliance, merged with Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia party to form the People of Freedom on the 29th of March 2009. The combined party belonged to the EPP and the MEPs elected in 2009 Saturday in the parliamentary grouping. This move came after a series of attempts by National Alliance to abandon more staunchly national conservatism and Eurosceptic parties and move towards the moderate European centre-right, including a previous application for EPP membership. Ireland's Fianna Fáil joined the European Liberal Democrat and Reform Party on the 16th of April 2009. Fianna Fáil has long been a proponent of European integration and was openly uncomfortable about its European affiliation, with former leader Bertie Ahern often distancing his party from the right-wing positions of his groupmates and describing UN as purely a technical arrangement. Fianna Fáil very nearly joined ALDE during the group reshuffle after the 2004 European elections, and had also previously explored seeking membership in ELDR. Other significant sources of the group's MEPs were Poland's self-defensive The Republic of Poland Party and Latvia's For Fatherland and Freedom Party subsequently joined the European Conservatives and Reformists group. European Democrats. The European Democrats group, which had previously sat with the European People's Party's Parliament group, was dissolved after the election. The group's 3 political parties, the United Kingdom's Conservatives and Ulster Unionists and the Czech Civic Democrats, left to found the Alliance of European Conservatives and Reformists. The group's only other MEP, an Italian from the Pensioners' Party, failed to win re-election. Socialist Party. The Italian Democratic Party was founded in 2007 from 2 parties in the Olive Coalition decided to merge. Democrats of the Left and Democracy as Freedom, the Daisy, a socialist and a liberal party respectively. The merged resulted in disagreements over which European political party the Democratic Party would belong to, with many former members of the Daisy Party objection to member of the Party of European Socialists. Eventually it was agreed that the party would sit with the PES in the European Parliament but not join the party. The new parliamentary grouping was originally going to be called the Alliance of Socialists and Democrats for Europe, but this name was too similar to the name of the liberal group, the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe, so the name was changed to Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats. The Democratic Party of Cyprus, which had previously sat with Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe, joined the S&AMP-D after the 2009 elections but remained outside of a pan-European political party. Parliamentary Groups 2009. The following changes occurred, which makes the makeup of the groups as follows. ALDE, Greens, EFA and EULNGL continue to exist. EC-ON is constituted. PES becomes S&AMP-D. EPP becomes EPP again. ID is replaced by EFD. UEN is disbanded. Parliament President. In the first vote of the new Parliament, Jerzy Buzek was elected Parliament President, winning with 555 votes to 89 votes over his opponent Eva Britt-Svensson. The two candidates were, for the Right of Centre European People's Party, former Polish PM Jerzy Buzek was nominated by his group EPP and supported by the PES and ALDE groups. On the left, Swedish MEP Eva Britt-Svensson was nominated by her group EULNGL. MEPs voted in a secret ballot on Tuesday morning, the 14th of July 2009. The two largest groups in Parliament, the EPP and PES, agreed to share the post of President of the European Parliament as they have done for all but 2 terms of Parliament. The first half of the term was taken by Jerzy Buzek, MEP of the EPP, who was the first MEP from Eastern Europe to hold the post. He passed it over to Martin Schulz, MEP, the current leader of PES. The deal got support from the ALDE group. The other official candidate was Eva Britt-Svensson, nominated from EULNGL. She campaigned with the slogan, "A different voice." She was the first MEP from Sweden to candidate to the position.